here's another way into the last post that we demonstrated. So again, the shoulder stand, and remembering that these are excuses to become more acquainted with non-doing, the engaged non-doing, which is the essence of all of these posts really. The courses that I'm running are based on engaged non-doing, so the Cranioga, and you can find the information for that on www.barefootcranio.com. So let's go over to a simple version, or a simple way of getting into the shoulder stand, or to start to build up to the shoulder stand. So you can use a chair for this one, and again, this is to get used to the part that is usually the most awkward. So the shoulders actually getting into a nice stable platform. I will emphasize this part. People can overdo the shoulder stand. So if you do find that you're getting sore in the base of the neck, or you're finding that things are getting a little bit strained around the shoulders, probably back off from it a little bit. I'm finding sometimes that people are, just doing it for long periods or very often, and they're not listening to their body. And yeah, sometimes people do need to have a little bit of a rest in these sort of things. And again, going into the poses in a way that you feel accustomed to in a safe way. So it can be that you feel quite agile and acrobatic. If you do, and you can really feel the felt sense of your body, you're supple, then great. You can go into the poses in various sort of forms. But if you are stiff and you're not that sensitively aware of your body, probably would be good to take your time. Maybe even slightly choreograph with felt sense though. So always feeling how you're going into these poses, but bit by bit. So just listening to how your body responds to each idiosyncratic position that you get into. Okay, let's do the pose, and the build up to the pose, and make of it what you will. So a nice sturdy chair is very useful. You can hold on to the legs when you're doing this one, so the legs of the chair. Make sure the mat's flat, so you haven't got too many wrinkles in it. And placing one leg and then the other leg onto the chair. You can slowly edge your buttocks towards the chair and then lie down on the floor. Just relocating my mic. Okay, so we're holding on to the legs of the chair. Then you can bring your feet a little bit closer towards your body, and then lift yourself up. Take your shoulder blades a little bit closer together. And there you go. That's the part that's usually the most difficult to get into, where you're taking your buttocks off of the floor and you're just letting your shoulders take the weight. And you start to get used to taking one leg up, then the other leg up. And so on. Now I haven't actually got a wall here. Well, I have got a few walls, not very many, but the walls useful to put your legs up against to practice the other aspects of the pose. And I think you can probably imagine what I'm trying to say here. So your legs up against the wall, facing towards the ceiling, and then maybe putting a cushion or a pillow or some rolled up towel or blanket underneath your pelvis. Really good to help with the blood flow back to your heart. And then you go into the actual shoulder stand. So you can either do it with the bolster that I showed you with on the last post, or you can go into the shoulder stands. like so. I would suggest this, that actually don't put your feet totally together like a gymnast would. And keep them apart, because then you get more of a felt sense of two legs rather than just one. In the end, you'll sense that the two legs are one anyway, but you'll get the sense of the individual physiology and the interface with the way the two legs are relating to each other. Good to actually get a sense of both duality and non-duality here. It's the interface between the so-called two. One of them's a relative reality, which is the duality, and one aspect is the ultimate reality. The interfacing between the two is the felt sense. Yeah. So as I say before, just go onto the website. So it's barefootcranio.com, and you'll have all the information that you need for any of the courses that you might feel primed to join. All on engaged non-doing at the end of the day. This is the non-doing that comes into the therapies such as craniosacral therapy. This is why I'm calling this Cranioga. Cranioga because there's a synthesis between craniosacral therapy and yoga. Not to bring in too much of the esoterics of craniosacral therapy and various other therapies, I guess, but to bring in the practical reality of feeling the body at a deeper level, so the relational contact can be understood without lots of apparitions distracting you. They're not useful really. There's certain therapies that are encouraging and promoting various forms of self-hypnosis and illusions and delusions. Look, that might be very useful for some people. I personally don't feel that it's very useful for relationship itself. So the relational touch, the relational engagement, the relational felt sense that you can have both with your own body and with another person and a group, an object, and so on. This is, to me, that's life, rather than distracting or sidestepping from what is really going on. And obviously the practical reality, and being able to slip into the practical reality of duality easily. You're not dissociated from duality. You're still in intimate contact with it. You're just not separating things into separate components. You're not dualistically bifurcating things and making one thing separate from another. You're feeling the essence of reality as a whole, which is ultimately, why am I talking about this? Because ultimately it is dissatisfying to constantly be ruled by the impressions of duality, whereas feeling the essence of ultimate reality here now as a reality, an actual reality taking place all of the time, or all of the non-time, because it doesn't involve time, it's free of time. There's a reality constantly shimmering, scintillating, effervescently in the body as an expression of everything. And if that is actually satisfying not to me as an individual, satisfying because this is real. This is the reality of things, and the me as an individual, dissipates, I guess, for want of a better word. It dissolves, and yet it is still here when there is a need for duality to be appreciated because of its practical the pragmatics based around the organism surviving in the environment. But if we put all emphasis into that, and we take the pragmatics of survival as a separate organism into the mind sphere, then we will suffer. We will suffer. There's no suffering when there is the sense of delusion dissolving. There's no suffering in that. There is a suffering in trying to distract oneself from the reality of self. There is a reality, a relative reality with self, but self also is not real in the ultimate reality. I'm dribbling on, aren't I? Sorry. It's just me first thing in the morning, I guess.